The House on Blackwood Road. Chapter Final. The Whisper That Follows. 2 weeks after Emma disappeared, Blackwood Road was quiet again. The house stood at the top of the hill, looking down at the town like a patient hunter. Its windows gleamed with the pale morning light, clean and bright, as if no one had ever screamed inside its walls. The for sale sign was new. Fresh paint, neat lettering. A local real estate agent named Carla Jennings had taken the listing. She didn't believe in ghost stories. "Old house," she said, brushing the dust off her hands. "Just needs the right buyer." The house said nothing. It didn't need to. Detective Grayson hadn't returned to the precinct since that last night. He told his captain he was taking leave. "I need some time," he said. But the truth sat like lead behind his ribs. He couldn't sleep. Every night, the heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. Sometimes it came from under the bed, sometimes from the walls, and sometimes from inside his chest. He'd burned the last photograph. At least, he thought he did. But no matter how many ashes he swept up, when he opened his drawer in the morning, the photo was there again. Emma, Daniel, the house behind them, the fog creeping closer each day. And lately, there was something new. A third figure. A man with graying hair. A detective's badge on his belt. Carla Jennings, clipboard under her arm, toured the house for the 4th time that week. She didn't notice the cold patch in the hallway or the faint whisper that drifted from the nursery. All she saw was profit. "Perfect structure, solid walls. We'll have it flipped in a month," she told her assistant on the phone. When she walked into the living room, the camera was already there. She frowned. "What the hell?" The Polaroid sat neatly on the tripod, facing the door. No one had brought it in. It hadn't been there yesterday. Or had it? Carla reached for it. A faint click echoed through the room. The flash went off. A photograph slid out. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. The living room. The house. Her, standing in the doorway. And dozens of faces behind her. Children, men, women, their eyes black and hollow. Across town, Detective Grayson opened his drawer. The photo was waiting for him. But now it was different. Emma and Daniel were gone. Only the house remained. And in the front yard, standing stiff as a corpse, was him. Grayson dropped the photo. It fluttered to the floor face down. He didn't pick it up. The heartbeat grew louder. It wasn't behind the walls anymore. It was in the room with him. Thump, thump, thump. The lamp flickered. Shadows crawled up the corners of the ceiling like black mold. "Not again," he whispered, pressing his palms against his ears. But the house doesn't care about distance. It never has. The whisper came from the darkness beside his bed. "You saw us." The first deaths started 3 days later. A teenage boy who'd trespassed on Blackwood Road for a dare. His friends found his camera in the grass. The last photo on it showed him smiling in front of the house. Behind him, in the upper window, 2 small hands pressed against the glass. The second was a mailman who delivered to that part of town. He was found in his truck at the end of the street, eyes wide open, a Polaroid clenched in his fist. His face appeared blurred in the picture. Everyone else in the photo was clear. The third was Carla Jennings. She didn't show up for work. When they entered the house, they found her in the living room, standing perfectly still, her eyes black as wet ink, a smile carved across her face that didn't belong to her. The camera was at her feet, a fresh photo, still warm. The town did what towns always do. They explained it away. Gas leaks, trespassing accidents, drug use. The house was boarded up again. Another sign posted, "No trespassing." But it didn't matter. The house didn't need people to enter anymore. It had found another way out. The photographs began appearing around town. One was slipped into a library book. Another showed up in a diner booth. One was taped to a high school locker. Some people threw them away. Others took them home out of curiosity. Those who looked too long began hearing the heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. They started waking up at 3:12 a.m. The smell of damp earth filled their rooms. Their mirrors fogged over. Their eyes began to darken. Detective Grayson sat alone in his kitchen, the last bottle of whiskey half empty beside him. On the table lay a dozen photographs, spread out like a ritual. He'd stopped burning them. There was no point. In each picture, the house was getting closer, the fog thicker, and behind the windows, more faces were appearing. He whispered to himself, "You can't leave, can you?" A child's laughter answered him from the hallway. His gun was loaded, not that it would matter. "She's home," the house whispered. "He will follow." Grayson pressed the barrel to his temple. The heartbeat matched his pulse. Thump, thump, thump. Click. But the gun didn't fire. The house doesn't let you leave that way. Weeks passed, months. Winter came, wrapping the town in cold and quiet. Children stopped playing near Blackwood Road. The few that did came home pale, whispering about shadows in the windows and the man with the black eyes. The photographs spread beyond town. A curious traveler posted one online. Another mailed it to a friend. A tourist took one without realizing. It traveled through inboxes, mailboxes, folders, and feeds. The house didn't need walls anymore. It had found us. Somewhere far from Blackwood Road, in a small city apartment, a young woman opened her mail. No sender, no note. A single Polaroid inside. She frowned. Who? It was a house she had never seen. Old, stone, windows black, a fog spilling down the hill. In the upstairs window, something moved. She almost threw it away, but she didn't. She looked closer. Her phone buzzed once. The lights in her kitchen flickered. And faintly, beneath the hum of the refrigerator, she heard it. Thump, thump, thump. At exactly 3:12 a.m., she woke to the sound of a child laughing in her hallway. The photograph sat on her bedside table. The fog inside the image had grown thicker. And in the corner of the picture, a new figure was beginning to form. Her. The house on Blackwood Road doesn't need people to come to it anymore. It only needs someone to see it, to look a little too long, to remember the sound of a heartbeat that isn't theirs. And then, like Emma, like Daniel, like all the others, they belong. Thump, thump, thump. This is the end of The House on Blackwood Road. Epilogue with The Whisper That Follows. Stay